my vision went blank. I could only see white, and I didn't know where I was. I was very confused. And then one of my teammates was yelling, like, "Steve, get up, you're fine, you're fine." But then in my head, I was like, "No, I'm not fine. Just let me sit. Let me lay down."
That was a linebacker from Crescenta Valley High School. Steve Lee and a countless number of high school athletes suffer a concussion while playing football. The latest Institute of Medicine study states that high school football players are nearly twice as likely to sustain a concussion as are college players. Regulation requires students who have sustained head injuries to be removed from the game and only returned by a doctor's clearance. This regulation helps, but the injury can still occur. Here at CVHS, one wide receiver suffered a major concussion over the summer.
While I was sitting up, a player came over and kicked me in the face.
Between the legs, I saw somebody's down. When I ran, he started having a seizure. That's the time we had to call 911.
Our guys were going after the kid that did it. Their team wanted to defend him.
I was right there, had to help him when he was having the seizure.
To see someone my age seizuring like that and like hearing the moans, I was just like, it was really scary.
His dad was talking to him as if he was like a baby. Emotionally, that made it way different than anything I'd been around.
Connor Van Ginkel was taken to the hospital by paramedics after lying unconsciously on the field for about 20 minutes. Surprisingly, the injury did not leave Connor fearful of the game.
Not even right now. I mean, yeah, it's always in the back of my mind, like, I definitely have to be careful, but I just take precaution every time I'm out there. Me and my dad bought me my own helmet to make sure, it had a little bit safer padding.
The advancement of the helmet has caused misconception among some people who think they can prevent concussions. Biomechanics say helmets that have passed industry safety standards still leave players with a 95% chance of getting a concussion. Neuropsychologist Tony Strickland says the helmet is designed for another reason.
It's more of a protection of skull fracture. The brain is suspended inside of the skull in a bath of liquid, and there's only about a centimeter of space between the brain and the skull itself. So if the brain is rapidly accelerating and then it stops, the brain continues to move inside of the skull.
Get him out of there, there you go.
Despite knowing the risks, many football players don't report the concussions they suffer. CV's varsity assistant coach, Hudson Gossard, says the regulation created to keep athletes benched after an injury can cause athletes to make risky choices.
Your own players will maybe, especially when you're having a good season, they might hide an injury to make sure that they can stay on the field.
When asked if they would lie about having the symptoms of a concussion, most of the CV varsity players said they would.
Definitely. This is my last season playing football, and I want to play every single game.
If I really felt that bad and I knew that, I could have a concussion, I'd definitely get checked out by a trainer.
No, it's extremely dangerous to do that because I've heard of a few people that have done that before, and it just gets worse.
There have been a couple times where I have hit my head pretty hard on the ground, and I've seen stars, but I just kept it to myself.
Honestly, I think I could possibly be the final game of the year, and I'd want to play and fight through it, but it probably wouldn't be the smartest idea.
What's scary is that the repetitive blows can cause the brain disease known as CTE. This disease affects players and can even cause them to take their own lives. Dr. Strickland says it's hard to catch the disease as it develops because the evidence lies in an autopsy. But having the athlete's close relatives aware of the disease can help spot it early.
You will note changes in personality. And an individual may become more withdrawn, or they may become more impulsive. The family members or friends who know will note these particular changes.
CV Falcons head coach Paul Schilling says aside from the regulations being made nationwide, he takes his own precautions. And now that the issue has surfaced the media, players have less to worry about than they did before.
We're so cautious now, it might not be an injury, but we're going to take them out anyways. And now that's an extra game. They've seen so much in the media that they know that this is not cool. They don't want to be a statistic.
Even though the risks are evident, players shouldn't avoid the sport because of what can happen. Dr. Strickland, Coach Schilling, and Coach Gossard all agree that as long as the proper techniques are used, the sport will continue to be enjoyable. Stephanie Marroquin, KCSN News.